Hello everyone, I am explaining prokaryotic transcription in this video class. So before I get into the concept, you should know what is the central dogma of molecular biology. Here it is the phenomena where DNA directs its own synthesis through a process of replication, or DNA directs the synthesis of RNA through the process of transcription, and the synthesis of proteins using RNA as the template through the process of translation is nothing but central dogma of molecular biology. As we all know, genetic information is stored in the DNA and it is transcribed and translated using the machineries such as the enzyme systems such as RNA polymerase, ribosomes, tRNA, etc. So this information, the transfer of information, is nothing but the central dogma of molecular biology. So the flow of genetic information through the process of transcription and translation, and it was first outlined by Francis Crick in 1958. So this is the whole gene expression and regulation, the whole molecular biology revolves around the relationship between these three molecules. So you will understand as the lectures goes on how exactly these serves as the central theme of the molecular biology. Before I explain you about the prokaryotic transcription, I will give you some basics of the structural difference between the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell. In case of the prokaryotic cell, for example bacteria, it has the double-stranded DNA, it is circular in nature, and the DNA is floating basically in the cytoplasm. So what I am trying to tell you is, there is no true nucleus in case of the prokaryotes, but in case of the eukaryotes, there is a well-defined nucleus and the genomic DNA is present inside the nucleus. Most of the eukaryotes have the double-stranded linear DNA, whereas in case of the prokaryotes it is circular double-stranded DNA, and the process of transcription strictly takes place inside the nucleus. This is the nucleus. The transcription takes place inside the nucleus. After the transcription, RNA undergoes some type of modifications, which I am going to discuss in my future videos. Then the RNA is transported to cytoplasm, where it is recognized by the ribosomes to get converted into the proteins. But in case of the prokaryotes, transcription and translation goes together. I mean to say, whenever there is a transcription initiation, as soon as the mRNA comes out of the transcription bubble, ribosomes immediately recognizes that mRNA and begins the translation. So this is the major difference between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, where the transcription and translation are coupled in case of the prokaryotes. This is very important to understand many concepts in the gene expression regulation. So as the mRNA is coming out of the transcription bubble, ribosomes are translating the mRNA, and these green color structures indicates the polypeptide chain that is growing on the ribosomes. So basically transcription and translation are taking place together. So this is the difference that you should know to understand the prokaryotic and eukaryotic transcription. So let me move on. The another basics that you should know about prokaryotic transcription is about RNA polymerases. In case of the prokaryotes, there is a single type of RNA polymerase which can perform the transcription of all the three mRNA, rRNA and tRNA coding genes. That means a single the RNA polymerase can synthesize all the three types of RNAs. But in case of the eukaryotes, all the three types of RNAs are synthesized by different enzymes designated as RNA polymerase 1, RNA polymerase 2 and RNA polymerase 3. Since it is a prokaryotic transcription class, let me elaborate on the prokaryotic RNA polymerases. The prokaryotic RNA polymerases has 6 subunits with the molecular weight of 459 kilodaltons. In case of the prokaryotic RNA polymerase, it can exist in two forms. One is the holoenzyme form, the other one is coenzyme form. As I said, RNA polymerase has 6 subunits. Alpha, again one more alpha, there are 2 alpha subunits, beta, beta dash, omega and sigma. So these are the 6 subunits as given in this picture. One alpha, another alpha, beta, beta dash, omega and sigma. So here again RNA polymerase can exist in two forms. One is holoenzyme form, the other one is coenzyme form. Holoenzyme means all the 6 subunits together. Coenzyme means there is a subunit called as sigma, which is a detachable subunit. That means one of the subunit of the RNA polymerase can be detached from the coenzyme. So it can exist in two forms. The 5 subunits together, that is alpha, one more alpha, beta, beta dash and omega. We call these 5 enzymes together as coenzyme. And with the association of the sigma subunit, we call this as holoenzyme. So holoenzyme and coenzyme concepts goes like this. Then one more thing is, holoenzyme is essential for the transcription initiation. But once after the initiation of the transcription, the RNA polymerase can continue its polymerization activity even in the absence of the sigma subunit. That means in the coenzyme form, RNA polymerase can continue to transcribe the genes. So after knowing about the prokaryotic RNA polymerases, let me briefly explain you about the structure of the gene in case of the prokaryotes. Here I have written a ladder-like structure which indicates a double-stranded DNA. In the double-stranded DNA, you can see there is G in one strand, the opposite strand has C. If there is C in one strand, the opposite strand has G. Similarly, if there is T in the one strand, the opposite strand has A. This means that the nucleotides are arranged in the complementary base pairing form in the DNA. So this is let me consider this is the beginning of the gene. So this is a double helix in DNA. And you can see that there is some numbering. So the numbering is, one side it is with the positive signs, the other side it is with the negative signs. The positive side indicates, so before I start explaining this, there is an arrow mark as well. The arrow mark indicates this is the site of transcription initiation. That means RNA polymerase recognizes this site and starts the first nucleotide from this point. A is the beginning of the point. So this is indicated as +1. So this is the transcription initiation site. So whatever the nucleotides that are present towards the gene from the initiation site are designated with the positive sign, that is they are numbered as +1, the next nucleotide is +2, the next nucleotide is +3, followed by +4, +5. Like this, every nucleotide is given the numbering with the positive symbol. So the positively numbered nucleotides are also called as, this region is called as downstream region. Apart from this, whatever the nucleotides that are present before the gene, before the initiation site, are numbered with the negative sign, that is -1, -2, -3, -4 and so on. So the nucleotides that are present away from the initiation site are always denoted with the negative symbol along with the numericals. So this is called as upstream region. So this region is upstream and this region is downstream region. So apart from this, what about how exactly, the question that arises here is, if the transcription is initiated from +1, how exactly RNA polymerase can initiate the transcription from this point? Though the nucleotides are present even in the upstream as well as in the downstream region, how it is possible for the RNA polymerase to discriminate the other nucleotides from this? So the answer is, in case of, now you know how exactly numbering is given. I have given the structure of the template DNA. It's a double-stranded DNA. So double-stranded DNA has sense strand and antisense strand. You know that it is the sense strand carries the genetic information. So it is a double-stranded DNA which has sense strand and the other one is the antisense strand. Sense strand carries two conserved sequences at -10 and -35 region. So from the previous slide you got to know that transcription is initiated at +1 region. Later if you move this side, the numbers are designated as with the negative symbol. At -10, the bacterial gene contains a conserved sequence called as TA-TA-AT. You can see here TA-TA-AT. This has been highlighted, TA-TA-AT. In the same way, if you move forward towards the upstream region, at -35 region, you'll also find TTG-ACA. These are the conserved sequences that are present in the upstream of the bacterial genome, and these are nothing but the promoter sequences. They are designated as, or they are called as promoter sequences. So the same thing I have written here in the different way. So -10, -35. So the brown, the shading is nothing but the promoter sequences at -10 and -35. In addition, the upstream region can also have another element called as UP elements. UP elements means upstream promoter elements. Upstream promoter elements, they are present to the upstream of the promoter sequence. That's why they are called as upstream promoter elements. These generally upstream promoter elements are present between -40 to -60 region. So the -10 region, which contains TA-TA-AT sequence, is also called as Pribnow box, because this sequence at TA-TA-AT at -10 was discovered by an Australian scientist named David Pribnow. Therefore, it is also called as Pribnow box. And UP elements were discovered by Richard Gauss. Okay, so after getting to know all these things, let me tell you the significance of -10, -35 and UP elements. So this indicates this is the RNA polymerase. As I said, RNA polymerase has 6 subunits. One among them is the sigma subunit. Here, what is the significance of -10 and -35 is, RNA polymerases recognize -10 and -35, specifically sigma factor. The sigma subunit recognizes the -10 and -35 region. Sigma has a sigma 2 and sigma 4 domain. These domains recognize -10 and -35 respectively. Otherwise, if you delete these sequences, the promoter may not be recognized by the RNA polymerase to initiate the transcription. So in addition, the elements that we discussed that are UP elements, in case of the rRNA coding genes, we know that in any cell, rRNA is the most abundant type of RNA. Therefore, the rRNA coding genes must be transcribed very efficiently. For this reason, there is an extra element in the rRNA coding genes called as UP elements. The UP elements is recognized by C-terminal domain of alpha subunit of the RNA polymerase in such a way that when it makes multiple interaction, when the RNA polymerase makes multiple interaction with the DNA, it efficiently transcribes the respective gene. So this is the significance of the promoter sequences and the promoter proximal elements. So basically these sequences helps the RNA polymerase for the transcription. So coming to the transcription, it is broadly classified into 3 stages. One is initiation stage, the other one is elongation stage, the last one is termination. Let me explain you about transcription initiation first. In case of the transcription, sometimes some authors also define transcription as DNA dependent RNA synthesis, because DNA serves as the template and RNA is synthesized using the DNA as the template. Therefore, the sequence of the RNA is dependent on the DNA. That's why it is also called as DNA dependent RNA synthesis. As I explained you earlier, in the DNA it has 2 strands. One is a sense strand, the other one is antisense strand. Sense strand carries the genetic information. Therefore, the RNA produced should be exactly, it should looks like the sense strand. If we have to get the RNA that looks like sense strand, the antisense strand should behave as a template DNA during the transcription. So let me explain you the process individually. Right. This is, so initially RNA polymerase has a holo enzyme, that is holo enzyme, all the subunits together, 2 alpha, beta, beta dash, omega and sigma subunits together has a holo enzyme, binds to the double stranded DNA to initiate the transcription. It is simple random binding. When it binds, the RNA polymerase starts to scan for the promoter region. I am telling you, it is random binding. Once after the RNA polymerase binds, it starts to scan for the promoter. You can see that the promoter sequences are present somewhere here, and RNA polymerase travels towards the promoters. You can see in this image, RNA polymerase has occupied the promoter sequence at -35 and -10. So this one we call it as, the RNA polymerase stops its movement for a while. So once after the RNA polymerase stops, begins to interact with the promoter, we call this as closed promoter complex. So promoter and RNA polymerase has made the complex. Therefore, these -10 and -35 region are recognized by the sigma subunits. As I said, sigma 2 and sigma 4 domains are going to recognize these 2 regions. That's why RNA polymerase stops its activity. So we call this as closed promoter complex. Next, Now in the next step, you can see this is the closed promoter complex. There is the opening up of the double-stranded DNA. There is a helix which results in the melting of the helix, which results in the formation of the transcription bubble. The hydrogen bonds between the two strands are broken down, and which results in the opening up of the helix. We call this as open promoter complex. Generally, the binding of the RNA polymerase opens up 11 base pairs, starting from -9 to +2. So the number of nucleotides between the hydrogen bonds are broken it is 11 nucleotides that starts from -9 to +2. So once after there is a opening up of the transcription bubble like this, the RNA synthesis starts from +1 site. So how exactly RNA synthesis begins? As when compared to the DNA synthesis, RNA synthesis is pretty simple. In case of the replication, the enzyme requires a primer, small stretch of the nucleotides that are already present to extend its the DNA. But in case of the RNA polymerase does not require any primer, so it can initiate the transcription as and when required. No primer is required. It is primer independent process. How exactly it takes place? Generally, if there is adenosine nucleotide in the +1 position of the antisense strand, uridine nucleotide is added at the beginning. If there is G, that is guanine nucleotide, in the second position in the template DNA, the cytosine nucleotide is added. The first nucleotide added is, let me call, is X. Any could be any nucleotide in the phosphorylate, in the triphosphate form. So the next nucleotide comes. When the next nucleotide comes, it is, I am calling it as YTP. It could be again any nucleotide depending on the template DNA. Pyrophosphate is released from the YTP, resulting in the coupling of the two nucleotides. Please observe here, the first nucleotide is XTP, that is X triphosphate. The next nucleotide added to the mRNA is the YTP, where the inorganic phosphate is removed. If the inorganic pyrophosphate is removed, if the pyrophosphate is removed, it is left out with a single phosphate, which results in of the coupling of two nucleotides. Initially it is triphosphate followed by the monophosphate. Then depending on the template DNA, there is the next nucleotide comes. I am designating it as ZTP. It could be any nucleotide again with the release of the pyrophosphate. So the rolling chain continues. It is from the mRNA synthesis or any RNA synthesis takes place from 5' end to 3' direction. Yeah, the 5' end is free. The 5' nucleotide has 3 phosphates followed by the second nucleotide which has monophosphate. Between the two nucleotides there is a phosphodiester bond. Again the next nucleotide undergo coupling with the mRNA, which is again between these two nucleotides there is a single, that is monophosphate, that is phosphodiester bond formation. So which indicates that the terminal nucleotide in the RNA is in the triphosphate form, but all the subsequent nucleotides are in the monophosphate form. Followed by, once you can see here, this is how the coupling takes place. The red color strand is serving as the template. Based on the template, RNA polymerase has initiated the transcription. You can see that RNA polymerase has crossed the +1 region. Once after the crossing, you can see that there is a blue color line this is the RNA that is being synthesized using the red colored template in the 5' to 3' direction. So once after the transcription is initiated, the sigma subunit immediately detaches, maybe when the transcription bubble crosses plus 10 nucleotides. So indicating that sigma is not essential anymore. Then once after the sigma is detached, the RNA polymerases loses the contact with the promoter and it begins to polymerize the nucleotides based on the template DNA. This process is called as promoter clearance. The detachment of sigma and the RNA polymerase leaves the promoter and continues to transcribe the genes. This specific process is nothing but the promoter clearance. You can see that as the RNA chain continues to grow, there is only the core enzyme. So after the promoter clearance, the sigma is detached, RNA polymerase continues to scan the template DNA and begins to add the nucleotides that are complementary to the template DNA. So this completes the initiation phase of transcription. There are no significant events associated with elongation. During the elongation, the RNA grows to in the 5' to 3' direction, chain continues to grow in this direction. The number of nucleotides added by the processivity of the RNA polymerase could be between 20 to 50 nucleotides at 37 degrees Celsius, and it has no proofreading activity, bacterial RNA polymerases. So you can see that the transcription bubble is moving +1. It has crossed, it is off of the way through the gene. It has crossed the promoter, initiation site, and all the way it is already in the middle of the gene. So you can see that the length of the RNA is also getting bigger as the transcription bubble moves towards the downstream region. The next process, very important process, is transcription termination. So any process that has been initiated should be terminated. So transcription should also be terminated, because when the RNA chain grows upon the transcription moves towards the transcription bubble move towards the end of the gene, transcription should come to halt. So this, how exactly RNA polymerase gets the signal for the transcription termination? So transcription termination can take place by two different mechanisms. One is a row dependent mechanism and row independent mechanism. Yes. So in this picture, you can see that the RNA is growing, RNA polymerase is moving on the template DNA. There are several adenosine residues in the template DNA. If there are several adenosine residues, obviously RNA polymerase adds uracil residues to the RNA. That is what is taken place here. 7 adenosine residues are there, 7 uracil residues are there in the RNA. Once this takes place, there are chances that RNA can form the stem loop structure by its own. I mean to say, if there are self-complementary sequences in the RNA, it can form the stem loop structure. The stem loop secondary structure is not rare in case of the RNA. Secondary structures can be seen in several types of RNAs when they are getting transcribed. So in the same way, if there is a secondary structure, stem loop structure in the RNA, and if the stem loop structure is followed by 7 uracil residues in the RNA. This is a signal for transcription termination. So it is row independent mechanism. Row independent mechanism where it is the most common type of termination signal. Presence of the self-complementary GC rich sequence followed by this stem loop structure results in the transcription termination, as I explained you. Here, this is what I conveyed. Whenever there is a stem loop structure followed by 7 uracil residues in the stem, it has GC rich region which is not really easy to melt if there is GC rich region in the stem. Whenever there is a 7 uracil residues, the hybrid that is formed between the deoxyadenosine and oxygenated uridine is the weakest interaction that is seen among the Watson-Crick base pairing. So this is the weakest interaction between A and U, whatever the hydrogen bondings that you are seeing here is the weakest interaction. Therefore, transcription can no longer continue in this combination. So this is a signal for transcription termination. As soon as there is a stem loop structure followed by the 7 uracil residues, the RNA get detached from the template DNA. Once after the detachment of the RNA from the template DNA, transcription bubble immediately closes. If the transcription bubble immediately closes, which results in the release of the RNA polymerase core enzyme from the template DNA. Now this RNA polymerase clubs with some other sigma factor in the cellular environment and it will be ready for the next round of transcription. Then this RNA will be utilized for the translation purpose. This is how the transcription is terminated by row independent mechanism. The next one is row dependent termination. So what is row? Row is a hexameric protein. It is a ATPase that binds to specific sequence on the RNA called as root sites. Root means row utilization sites, as written here. Yes, RUT, row utilization site. Row binds to specifically single stranded RNA at root sites. So here I can explain you with the picture. There is a transcription bubble, there is RNA. So this RNA has no 7 uracil residues. If there are no 7 uracil residues but still the transcription should be terminated, there is a root site. Root means it is a 40 nucleotide stretch sequence which has C-rich region. This root site is recognized by a protein called as Rho protein. Rho protein binds to this region and typically move towards the transcription bubble. It has high processing rate. When the Rho protein binds to the root site and move towards the transcription bubble, it is somewhat like it breaks the hydrogen bonding between the template DNA as well as the RNA. It may pull out the RNA from the transcription bubble, or it may push the RNA polymerase out of the transcription bubble. Therefore, it is a row dependent process where you can see the arrow mark. Row binds to row utilization sites and then move towards the transcription bubble, pulls out the RNA, or it may push the RNA polymerase out of the transcription bubble to terminate the transcription. So this is how The prokaryotic transcription is like initiates with the help of the RNA polymerases. The RNA polymerase later it releases the sigma factor, it continues to elongate the chain of the RNA based on the template DNA and continues using row dependent manner or row independent manner, it can terminate the transcription. Thank you.